Let's move over to the featherweight division now, as we have the main card kicking off with a scrap between Cub Swanson coming in at plus 100, going up against Nate the Train Landwehr, who comes in at minus 120. Now, this will be the retirement fight for Cub Swanson, who had indicated even after that fight against Billy Quarantillo that this will probably be his last fight. What brought him back was the fun matchup against Nate Landwehr, but also the fact that he is the last WEC representative on the roster. I don't know if you guys were fans long enough of mixed martial arts to know what WEC was, but that was one of the better promotions out there, especially for the lower weight classes. And when they got absorbed by the UFC, that's when we saw the introduction of the flyweight, bantamweight, and featherweight divisions. And Cub Swanson was one of the guys that was brought over from that as well. At 42 years old, Swanson has had a very illustrious career. Maybe not getting to a title fight or anything like that, but he's had some absolute wars that have given him Fight of the Night honors and Performance of the Night honors as well. We saw him have a great performance against Billy Quarantillo back in December of 2024. He utilized his striking advantage to really pick apart Billy Q, and he was able to outland him with a total of 99 significant strikes. I think Billy Q only landed roughly around the same, but it was a high volume, high paced fight. He was able to pick apart Billy in the first round. Round two, Billy picked up the pace as he normally does, and it really put it on Swanson, but Swanson answered back every time, even outstriking Billy in that round by 2 significant strikes. 2 judges felt Billy's forward movement, pressure, and output was enough to give him that round, but it didn't end up mattering, as Swanson really put him on in the second round and was able to get that finish a minute and a half into the third round. Swanson, still a very good striker, has some decent power. We saw him put away Darren Elkins the way that he did. We saw him put away Billy Quarantillo. We saw him have a very solid performance even against Hakeem Dawodu, who was, on paper, much closer to his prime and a good enough striker to deal with Swanson. But that was just not the case. Even in his split decision loss against Andre Fili, he showcased very good things in that fight and even had an argument of earning that win. But ended up coming up on the losing end there. He's a BJJ black belt, but we often see him utilize that defensively, and he's all about just striking, flashy techniques, trying to land that power and get his opponents out of there. I'm sure he's getting a lot of confidence from his team, Bloodline MMA, which is doing great work in the UFC right now. Danny Silva, Lehion Douglas as well, who just had a dominant performance over Julian Erosa a few weeks back, and even on the LFA scene where they have a champion, Richie Miranda, who is on the doorstep of the UFC as well. With this being his retirement fight, I don't think the UFC could have done a better job in terms of picking the perfect opponent for him to go out there, have a war, but still potentially end up getting his hand raised. He takes on Nate the Train Landwehr, who is on a 2-fight losing streak, with both those fights coming by knockout. He obviously had that win over Jamal Emmers, where he was able to get the first round finish, I believe it was. Emmers was having good success, but couldn't maintain it, and then eventually fell short to the pressure of Landwehr that we know Landwehr normally brings. But then the Duho Choi fight, very surprised that Choi was able to out-grapple, out-scramble, and eventually get that crucifix TKO finish over Landwehr in the third round of that fight. Even the Morgan Charrier fight, that was an interesting one. I thought he started a little slow against Charrier. Charrier got off on better damage, as we obviously saw. One judge did score that first round for Landwehr, which was a little bit surprising. Round 2, we saw Landwehr really start to pick up the pace. He stayed way more active with his jab, really outstruck Charrier by 10 significant strikes that round. But then Charrier kept the judges out of it, as he ended up rocking and hurting Landwehr in the opening seconds of round 3 to get the finish with the barrage of shots. Landwehr normally thrives in wars and chaos. This guy, when his durability does hold up for him, he's able to take crazy punishment and then just put it back on his opponents and try to get them out of there. But that started to dwindle at this stage of his career. He's been in so many wars. He's taken so much damage that I just don't think he can really eat these big shots from slicker strikers. If fights were to go his way, high pressure, high volume, good wrestling, good boxing as well, and then crazy good cardio, usually pulling away in deeper water against most of his opponents. Now, in this matchup against Cub Swanson, it's a spectacular matchup. One that was on the prelims before Joshua Van and Tatsuro Taira got pulled from this card. Now it kicks off the main card. It's the perfect fight to kick off the main card. There is no way this fight is a snoozer. Landwehr is going to bring it. Swanson's going to stand there and bring it back to him. But I ultimately think it's going to be Swanson's technical striking superiority that will allow him to end up getting the knockout win here. Landwehr runs into a lot of his shots, and that's where Swanson should be able to utilize his footwork and counter-striking ability to get those big shots off on Landwehr and eventually get him out of there. I could see Landwehr looking to get this into the grappling realm, but I think Swanson is a good enough defensive grappler to keep Landwehr away from getting off on too much success, and then it's just going to come down to Swanson landing those counter-strikes, landing that pinpoint shot that's going to put Landwehr down, and I think it eventually puts him out as well. So I got to go Swanson here. I think he gets his swan song in emphatic fashion, and I think he gets the knockout victory over Nate the Train Landwehr.